More scary than Dario Argento's Suspiria. More unsettling than Dario Argento's Inferno. More terrifying than Dario Argento's Opera. Is Dario Argento.
MaJaMa. MaJaMa. MaJaMa.
Welcome back, movie nerds, cinephiles, and people that stumbled onto this accidentally while searching something else, to another episode of MaJaMa Jams. As always, we are your hosts, Jason, Matthew, and Mateo, who hasn't changed since getting off his shift at IKEA. I kid.
Is that what they were?
It looks similar to that.
Really?
If it doesn't, then I
No.
just killed the joke, but... So today, we are reviewing what I have been told by the maestro here is a massive classic from the motherland of Matteo, coming straight from Italy. Italy?
Italy?
Coming straight from Italy. It is horror master Dario Argento's Deep Red. And I once again am going to turn it over to Matteo to explain to us what this is and a little bit about its place in Italian horror history. Matteo?
Yes. Let's start talking about the Giallo.
Yes.
Who's he?
I don't know.
I was actually going to mention that in my intro, but I didn't want to mess it up.
Yes.
And then I thought about maybe I'll make a dumb American joke about I mispronounced it gelato. Maybe that would have been funny.
Giallo is how in Italy thrillers and pulp novels are referred to. And the reason being that at the end of the 20s, I think it was 28, 29, the Arnoldo Mondadori Editore, which is the biggest publisher in Italy, had this idea of taking...
What was the name of the publisher company? No, it's beautiful. Say it again.
Arnoldo Mondadori Editore.
That's beautiful. Couldn't do it with a gun to my head.
They decided to start a series of thriller on paper, on print, pocket size. And the idea was just to identify it, especially in the newsstands where they were sold most of the time. It was a yellow jacket, completely yellow, with a circle in the middle and an illustration that vaguely depicted the part of the story. Giallo became a tradition in Italy, and eventually it translated to movies. They say, oh, that's a Giallo. Whereas here you say this is a thriller or is a mystery.
Would the previously discussed miniature comics of
Diabolic
fit into
was,
that?
Yes,
Yeah?
it was the comic book version 40 years later of the Giallo
Okay.
genre. So it became extremely popular in Italy, and then when they realized that it could have been done fairly cheaply in a movie form, they started to crank out one Giallo after another. Enter in 1970, well, 69, Dario Argento with his first Giallo. He was he was a movie critic for a newspaper in Italy, but he always loved movies, and by his own admission, he always hated his family. So
That's why any artist does anything.
but that's why in this movie he says,
What made you decide to be a pianist?
Well, my psychiatrist would say that it's because I hated my father. Because when I bang the keys, I'm really bashing his teeth in.
and in all of his movies, there is always a key element of the family that is screwed up in some whatever form. His first three movies, or at least his first three Giallo, were what is called the Animal Trilogy. The Bird of Crystal Plumage, The Cat of Nine Tails, and Four Flies on Grey Velvet.
What does Bird of Crystal Plumage make you think of?
Isn't the plumage beautiful?
There you go.
All right.
Righty, right?
Isn't the plumage beautiful?
I just say what the other person would say.
Yes.
Isn't the plumage beautiful?
Oh, yes, well, don't think about it too long. Just say the first thing that pops into your mind.
All these three giallo have the same structure, which is very similar to Deep Red. A person sees or hears something that cannot put their finger on it throughout the story. Meanwhile, horrible murders happen. Eventually, when the protagonist realizes what was the clue that was missing, is too late, and there is the confrontation with the murderer.
Let me ask you something. Did you move anything or change something around or take anything away from here?
You crazy. We're very careful not to move a thing. Why? Is something wrong?
No, I mean, it's just an impression, maybe.
Those three thrillers were intense, but not overly intense. There was suspense, not too much gore in general. And they were, even if Four Flies had a vague venture into the paranormal, they're all grounded in reality, all three of them. Then Dario Argento took a break and he did a movie called Le Cinque Giornate, which means the 5 days, which tanked spectacularly. It was just like not a horror, not a thriller, nothing.
Ma te, hai sentito che cos'è che ha detto il Binetti prima di morire?
Sì che ho sentito. Ha detto di andare tutti a dar via il culo.
Ah, allora avevo capito bene.
And he came back with Deep Red, or Profondo Rosso, or The Hatchet Murder, or The Murders, whatever. Yeah, there are several incarnations. The story is very similar to The Bird of Damn it!
The Bird of Crispy Plumage.
Yes, The Bird of Christmas Past.
We're a bunch of helpless jackasses!
Except this one has a definite outing into the paranormal. Now we go with the story. If you haven't seen the movie, spoilers abound. So
it was in the beginning.
Well, I mean, it is
with a
like
picture of a cute shark.
50 years old.
Yeah, but you know,
at this point,
well, neither one of you had seen it, saw it.
Yeah, but I mean, watching a review on it in 2022.
True. That's because we're
on
uncultured swine.
Very true.
That too.
A sensitive, during a convention of paranormal, perceives the thoughts of one of the spectators, and she says, "Oh my God, I see death. You killed, and you will kill again." As she leaves the theater, says, "I know who this person is." So clearly, the murder follows her home and kills her brutally with a meat cleaver, something like that.
Also the window.
And the window. The final part of the murder, if you will, is witnessed by Mark, who is a British pianist, jazz player. As he's going home with his best friend from another pianist, he runs upstairs to the apartment. He lives above the sensitive, sees her, this is way too late, and as in the giallo tradition, he cannot mind his own businesses. And so he decides to do kind of like a parallel investigation aside with the police, especially because he's convinced he has seen something when he went into the apartment that right now escapes him. He thinks that there was a painting that... I'm sorry?
I saw it.
You saw it? Good. Well, on the first viewing? Oh, good. Very good. His friend tells him maybe it's more important than what you think. Maybe it's just your version of the truth and things of that kind.
And he teams up with the most desperate woman in all of Italy who has not had a boyfriend in a very long time and is going to make that very clear.
Forse tu non ci crederai, ma io non ho neanche il ragazzo fisso in questo momento.
Nemmeno io.
Lo spero.
La ragazza, intendevo.
Ah, allora è per questo che sei sempre nervoso.
Io nervoso? Ma fai il piacere, io non sono affatto nervoso.
He teams up with Gianna, who is a journalist and very exuberant, and for the first time, at least in the Italian movies, not a damsel in distress, a woman who is actually assertive. Many times they have
Makes you know that too.
Go! That was an absolute elbow off the table. That is a total and absolute cheat.
He's also a throwaway because could she be the killer? Who knows? Meanwhile, the investigation brings Mark to this villa, the Villa of the Screaming Child, I think it was in English. The writer of the book about this villa gets killed in boiling water.
Oh, that's who that was?
Yes.
No fucking clue.
Okay.
No fucking clue. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, you obviously for me this is not a new thing, but I was pretty lost.
All right. Mark decides to investigate this villa where he finds out that there was not only a gruesome painting on a wall, but a room that it was sealed. It was sealed from the outside and from the inside. He goes in with a pickaxe. He destroys the wall of the villa. He finds out a mummy inside, and
I think it's his daddy.
That one never gets old.
Yes.
Although in this case, it's not a
it
joke.
got old. Yes, it got very old.
It actually is his daddy.
Who put him in the chair?
You know what? This is just the same thing as frigging, was it Pieces?
Yeah, and
Yes.
Mutilator.
The murderer knocks him out, sets the villa on fire, so all the proofs are gone. But by happenstance, he sees the same drawing that he saw on the wall in the villa in a house of a little bizarre, sadistic little girl. She says, hey, I saw it in my school, in the archive. He goes to the school and finds out that the drawing was made by Carlo, his jazz piano player, who is this close to kill him that he has to run away because the police arrive at the last moment. He gets killed because of a freak accident. Very dramatic, as you can see. And it could happen.
No, it's just, I literally felt Matthew like, let me try and
I mean, once
pay
again,
respect to the movie by not losing my shit.
It's
as this dude
how
gets
Frank
shot.
Drebin would.
Yes! I'm saying all you had to do was have,
chasing after someone and he ends up. Oh,
And probably if you change the music and you
Yes.
put a happy music, it would be very funny. So everything is resolved, but Mark says, wait a second, it couldn't have been him. When the murder was committed, he was in the square with me. And so he runs up to the house and he finally realizes what he was missing, that it wasn't a painting that he saw, it was a mirror that was reflecting a painting. And the murder was against the painting and got reflected into the mirror. And it turns out to be Carlos' mom, who seemed a...
kook?
Yes, an aging actress, but in reality she was ill when she was young. She killed her husband. Carlo witnessed the murder, and she sealed the room with the body of the husband inside, and Carlo decided to take the fall for his mom, but it was too late. A fight ensues, and the woman gets killed by an elevator. It may happen. It happened in Omens 2.
Happened
in the
Final Destination 17.
Yeah, well, it happened also in The Lift, which is a whole movie about a killer elevator. So.
And in Liar Liar, Jim Carrey farted in an elevator and had to tell everyone the truth about it. Questions.
Okay.
1. What happened?
No.
2. What?
Okay. So.
In your own words.
It's very weird.
Yes.
A lot of the shots were experimental, or almost would have thought this would have been his first film.
No.
Not that they weren't executed well, but almost reminded me of like a slower paced Sam Raimi Evil Dead style.
Yes.
And almost a little bit of Edgar Wright with kind of trying to do
The
kind
zooms.
of inventive shots. The zooms and the handheld.
Actually, that's the fun part, relatively speaking, of course. Being 1975, Steadicam didn't exist yet. So everything that is done, it was pretty much done with a dolly. So all the movements were incredibly intricate. And Dario Argento is known more for, especially starting Suspiria, he's more style over substance. There are sequences where the camera moves in weird ways, or is it placed in a lot of shots from above down, as if there's a foreboding sense of
yes, it's kind of like
oppression.
a lot of the shots you're wondering, okay, is this supposed to suggest the idea of someone following them, or you're
Right.
just suggesting the idea of movement and traveling with that character?
Mostly his idea is to unsettle you. Case in point, which is, I think, that is one of the greatest example. The opening credits in the original version stops abruptly.
I do like that a lot.
Yes.
I did too.
And then they restart with no. It's a what? In fact, the American version is different. That was already the first thing that they say, okay, this is nothing like you've ever seen before. So don't get ease. Many times, yes, there are the shot as if you are the killer. There's when he enters the convention in the bathroom, when goes pay him a visit in the house. And so there are all these timing things that, unfortunately, much like Alfred Hitchcock in Rope in 1948, I think, that he tried to do successfully a movie in one take, which it had to just go with dolly, camera movement, zoom in, zoom out. It was almost a ballet with the camera and the actors and the movement. Here, you see that he had a vision and he tried to realize the best possible way with the tools that he had at the time.
What kind of movement?
I think someone stood up and left his seat. But of course it was just an impression. As our friend Giordani has already told you, the lights were rather strong.
Well, I would actually piggyback on that and say that I ended up watching the camera work, and we'll get to this second one later, but and the score and the camera work was what I was most paying attention to.
Yes.
More so than being in the movie. Unfortunately, I was very attentive to what you're saying. I was like, let me focus on these camera shots and the work and the angles. I was not entirely with it, but I was definitely paying attention to the craftsmanship of the camera.
Well, the other thing
very
is
much so.
the marriage of the music with the shots,
Yes.
which is just integral to each
Yes.
other, where you have so many beats played off by music stopping and then starting again. I think also this was jarring to me because I always thought of Argento as horror, but once again I had nothing and had seen nothing from him. So
You
seeing it
expect
as
more
more of a
blatancy.
huh?
You expect more blatancy.
What do you mean?
When you like, well, I'm just asking, but I think it's a very slow burn, psychological type.
No, I kind of figured that because that's what I kind of thought Suspiria was from like the little clips I've seen of it. But I thought it'd be more straight paranormal horror than it was a mystery. And even knowing Giallo, I thought that was more of a straight horror slasher than it would be a thriller. So I think that surprised me the most. Because there are horror elements mixed into it.
Yes.
I think the genre itself is a little bit...
He was experimenting pretty much.
Yeah.
It was just like... Because remember, this is the year of Jaws.
That was my next question. Definitely 70s cinema, right?
Yes.
You can tell by the pacing.
And for the audience of 1975, this one was incredibly gory, incredibly splatter. It is the same thing that a lot of people say, oh my God, the first Halloween, the original one, is so gory. No, it's not. There isn't that much blood. Actually, there's
any?
There is on the blade of the kid when he kills his sister. But virtually there is none.
I think it's the brutality to Michael Myers' killings that I think may be the most unsettling part of it.
And mostly is making the house an uncomfortable place to be. There are a lot of shots which, to a degree, were mimicked by... and once again, I'm not saying that he is a lesser director by any mean, but the ending of Halloween with all the shots of the house where the shape could be anywhere. Here, many times, there are shots of the corridor or an empty room, and you say, am I to expect somebody jumping out of there?
No, I like some of that stuff too. Even just the shadows and the shading, a lot of it thing is masked in the background.
And that's also thanks to the wonderful director of photography, Luigi Kuweiler, whom I was lucky enough to meet and work with during my punk period. Yeah.
What?
Why the motorized doll? How? What?
Once again, it's just like it's. I guess it is.
It's a prelude to the Jigsaw doll.
Hello, Amanda. You don't know me, but I know you. I want to play a game.
No. She built it. She motorized it.
I get that. I was just making.
Why did she put it in the?
It's just like a misdirection, and at the same time,
It's pretty expensive.
It's a pretty expensive,
time-consuming misdirection.
It's very creepy.
Also, why does everyone wait to reveal when they know the name? Like the psychic knows the name of the killer, and she goes home and just starts to chill out and have her night.
Before, in front of the audience, I couldn't express all the sensations that flooded my mind. But at home, I want to write it all down. I let you have it tomorrow. You may use it as you see fit. Because, you see, now, I also know who that person is.
So this murder happens. The mom kills the husband and then boards up the house and hides
because
it
the
from
husband
everyone.
wanted to send her to
the
mental institution. Yes.
Now don't worry. Nothing's going to happen to you. It's all right. I'll take you to the hospital myself.
No. I told you I'm not going to go back there again. I don't want to. No one can force me to go back to the hospital.
But Martha, it's for your own good. I know you heard what the doctor said.
No. No.
Also, she had to pick him up, put him in the chair, and then she built the wall on her own?
Yeah.
She's a very resourceful woman.
And then also took out the window and built the wall to cover up the window from the outside?
Sure, on the Sunday morning, you should say, what are you
And
doing,
then-
ma'am? Nothing.
Okay, so no one finds out about the murder because
Except for the son.
Except for the son, Carlo. Also, his attire may have triggered his latent homosexuality because holy shit, those socks and black little buckle shoes.
When they showed the close-up, I completely thought it was a little girl.
So then, no one knows about the murder, but someone knows that believes the house is haunted.
Yes.
And they think that there might have been a murder in the house.
Yes, the screaming child.
Okay, which makes there's nothing connected to.
Pretty much no. It gets mentioned by passing to Mark.
Okay.
And,
the doll does seem a good, like Matteo was saying, he prefers style over substance, and I do think.
Yeah.
Well, no. What I was going to say is I think I completely agree with you, but I also agree with you because I feel like
you said you completely agree with me.
How
does that work?
While I agree with you that it's insane to think that a mom would make that literally just as a distraction, I also at the same time think it's A, incredibly creepy, and B, just a great image to see on screen. I actually like the movie more hearing its style over substance. Not that there wasn't a mystery laid out, but I found myself a little bit disjointed and really focusing in on the camera work, and I can't tell you how much I love just simply the way the drawing on the wall looks.
Yes.
I absolutely love that just existing as it is. So once you said the style over substance, that kind of makes the movie click together for what he might have wanted for me.
I guess it's the main thing is the mom, an elderly woman committing all these murders is the same thing with any sort of issue you might have with any sort of slasher mystery, like this woman.
The newest Scream.
Yeah. This
one
woman.
One of the ghost face was the girl, and she was clearly, taller than Dewey?
Yeah, and just fucking knocking him on his ass, and after being trained, I mean, he's older now, but he's a trained police man who's been in a million sort of fights, specifically with a serial killer, with Ghostface. And he's being knocked on his fucking ass.
Damn it, man! I liked it, but the more you talk that out, it's just like
that killed it for me. Well, I mean, a lot of things killed it for me, but that scene where he just runs away and doesn't pull the mask off after doing this 4 fucking times before.
Reggie, no, let's get out of here. Come on, hurry up. The head.
What?
You have to shoot him in the head, or they always come back.
And I understand the surprise effect, but still.
Yes, that's what I kind of felt with this, where I think it is a cool twist that Carlo is trying to defend his mom.
But she's too frail, you think?
The mom?
Yeah.
But she's old. I mean, the fact that she's knocking people around, pushing, I mean, you always have the element of surprise. I mean, the author had it coming for being a dumb fucking idiot coming back into the house, walking around, crawling on the ground, then trying to open the door, then just giving up, and then sitting back down in the middle of the room, killing her own bird who flew directly into the pin.
Sad.
I mean, that's the bird's fault for being a fucking idiot, too.
Yes. Bernardo Zapponi, who was the co-writer of the movie, he said, if you show somebody who gets a bullet, very few people, luckily enough, in the audience know how do you feel in getting a bullet. But the idea of being scalded by hot water or being hit by a piece of glass or cut yourself with something, it's virtually everybody have had a similar situation. So
the same philosophy behind Home Alone.
Yes.
Okay, it's kind of a joke. So let's get into something else because Matthew didn't understand the plot and remember
No,
way
I
more points than I
understood
did. I
the
don't understand shit.
plot.
You bring up things I remember.
There's just a lot of that doesn't.
I'm losing the ability to retain knowledge. So what I absolutely, more so than the camera work, which I did have my eye on the whole time, I was completely taken aback by the score. For a couple of reasons. One,
it's
just
music.
Flat out fucking awesome.
Yes.
Number two, I don't think I've ever seen a horror. I've never seen a movie of this nature use music like that. But yes, it was a very, almost a funky, I might say, with like the bass, the way it
70s.
slaps. 70s.
Yeah,
very,
I loved it too, but it
very unique, very.
Didn't fit a lot of the scenes, but I don't know if that's the point of it. To kind of juxtapose
That's what I actually
it
liked.
was, but
I picked up on that too. But I like the fact that like a murder happens like boom, boom, boom.
But then there was, then there was a lot of times where it just didn't really fit, despite the fucking every track was pretty fucking awesome.
Yes.
There was a lot of times where it just didn't sync up, or even if you were trying to make it jarring, it didn't really fit that.
Is this unique to this?
Well,
you know what I'm trying to say? Like, is this style and this style used in conjunction with horrific images? This is like very iconic to this, and this is.
This one was probably the first time, and Dario Argento himself said that John Carpenter told him that he drew inspiration from Deep Red for Halloween. In
Completely
terms of
saw
music.
that. Completely saw that.
Yeah. And he had there was a previous composer, I can't remember his name right now, I read it here, who did a score that did not satisfy completely Dario Argento. And so he met with Goblin.
They a metal band?
They
Or just
were
a band?
no. That was the most fascinating thing. The lead, Claudio Simonetti, his dad Enrico was an incredible pianist and composer in Italy in his own merits. And Claudio is as good as his dad. Once again, talented, does run in the family sometimes. But the four members of Goblin, they were all coming out from conservatory. They were not just like improvised musicians. They were not wild stallions from like Bill and Ted. They knew music from the ground up, how to build it, and.
But they were a band previous to doing soundtracks. I'm saying.
Yes,
like he approached Goblin the band the way you
were
approach
a band,
like Metallica.
Somebody suggested to listen to these guys. He met them. They hit it off, and in fact, they did this one and they did Suspiria, back to back. Much like him, they were able to be evocative. You listen to the music, you have this sense of anxiety or weird moment. There is one point where it reminds me of the Kipper twins from UH.
Yes.
It absolutely, I think, if nothing else, to me the soundtrack stands out as unique, as I think even that without knowing the history, I could tell it was iconic. I thought it was probably a moment where it was matched to images like this. Even like I said, I see the Tubular Bells influence, but I think this is completely its own thing.
Oh yeah.
And I was very, very captivated by the music throughout. I do agree with you that it can be a little jarring and juxtaposed, but I think that adds to it. I don't know. It's kind of like I was saying about Danger Diabolic, that even the bad green screen to me just looks like, or at least became retroactively a great stylistic choice where it just adds to the overall vibe of the movie. And that's the one thing that really stuck out that just worked. No matter what else I thought about this, the soundtrack, I was like, that.
Yes.
It's a humdinger of a soundtrack.
Yes, and it's a great album from the beginning to the end.
Yes,
fun fact, the long playing record, the 33 RPM, when it came out in Italy, in the back it has the photo of the murder in the mirror. So, good packaging.
I like the knife attached to the camera angle of stabbing
when it
the neck.
the neck.
Yeah.
Yes,
that was a cool shot.
It has a very cool ideas and and it's
discussion brings it to more life more than I thought I had enjoyed it. The discussion makes you realize the working parts of it are very.
I'm getting very down on it, but I guess that just all comes down to plot, and I mean, I don't think it wouldn't be. I'm pretty sure the story is literal, not really farcical in that sense,
Yes.
but a lot of it just doesn't make sense. And there are scenes like the I think you mentioned it too. The villa scene is just very fucking long.
Yes.
And he has to go back. And then you think the murderer should have him outside with the fire. Like, oh shit, that's not. Then you go through a whole nother thing. But I guess that's also just the pacing of the time as well.
Yes.
What I fucking loved, which I thought was really fucking creepy, was when
I don't know who you are, but
Mark?
you gotta help me.
Mark, it's me, Jana.
This time you're safe.
Hello?
I'll kill you anyway.
Hello?
Sooner or later.
I really liked it a lot.
It has this. All his movies have this piece, which once again, Daria Nicolodi, the actress who played Gianna, defined almost as musical numbers, but they are violent attacks. They punctuate the story.
Okay.
And that one was also those.
Like a Final Destination. There's a plot, but you have those beats of Well, no, I'm not trying to be funny. I knew you were gonna laugh at that, but I'm saying that movie is based around. You know that like a music, like you're saying, a musical number.
Well, I
you're gonna
might say
have
that more for
B, get to the
Final
song.
Well, I guess just because it's more sparse in this one.
Yes.
And there's big gaps in between when you would expect a musical number, if it's a musical, for them to drop.
I agree
in.
with that, but
then at the same time, this killer is not just unmotivated random killings.
Right.
She's targeting certain people.
Sidetrack, which has nothing to do but is kind of funny. There are a lot of butchering in this movie, but nobody butchers English worse than Dario Argento when he tries to say censor.
Censor.
No, nel senso also, I am disgusted by senso. No, because also I'm disgusted by people have, it says, I become senso. Why? Like I'm becomes a cat head. This is my, I love this. Why I love this? This is the worst things in life. I think now the worst things to be censored. Really disgusting people.
And apparently he smokes blunts.
He smokes.
You said that was a blunt in the movie.
Yeah.
Because it looked like a long.
Wait, weed or just a rolled cigarette?
No, that's why it looked. It did not
Yes.
look like it looked like a blunt. But you're saying that you
Yeah, he
heard
said
Dario
he-
would actually smoke blunts to calm down.
Uno o più canne.
Ma quando cominciavi? Al mattino?
No, non al mattino. Cominciavo a seconda di come mi sentivo, quello che mi portava il cuore. Mi portava di farmi una bella canna, me la facevo. Ma la canna è un'altra cosa, non è creativa, non è che ti fa diventare più bravo, più intelligente, più profondo. No, è semplicemente un momento di rilassatezza, di dolcezza, di serenità.
He's alive.
He is alive, and he just made a movie called Dark Glasses or something like that, Occhiali Neri, I think.
Asa's his daughter, right?
Asia is the daughter of Dario Argento and Daria Nicolodi, who was Gianna Brezzi, the reporter, who said that she was making an imitation of Dario Argento when he was a journalist, because she said that he was very frantic in talking. He would use his hands a lot, and if you look at her performance and knowing him, and I know him.
Intimately?
Very.
Sexually.
Did you guys cross paths in Italy
Yes.
when the professional?
Yes, we did.
Who could have done it?
A maniac. Who else? It's always a maniac, and they never catch them.
The movie became a gigantic hit, pretty much in the same way that The Sixth Sense became a gigantic hit. When you find out the twist at the end, or at least the solution of the story, people wanted to go back and re-see it to see if actually it was possible to see the murder at the beginning. And yes, you can. In the mirror.
In the mirror.
Oh, okay.
In the mirror.
I like that. That's cool.
So there was this, because at the time you couldn't say, oh, let me get the VHS or something.
Yeah. It feels like a multiple watcher. It feels like a second one might start to appreciate more. It's very, I don't know, cerebral is the right word, but it's very heady, very psychological.
Jesus Christ! What the hell? What the hell you want to do that for, putting the bloody machine next to here?
Let's start this way, because we're the virgins.
Why you always start this way, man?
Because it's just better.
You always point to me.
Why don't you start?
Yeah, why don't you start?
You contribute the least to this.
Well, that's a good point. Okay, I think mainly because the name, not so much Deep Red, but Dario Argento, is so huge, and it's been such a long time coming to actually see one of his films. And thinking about, is he known as a master of horror?
Yeah.
Okay. I guess I expected a lot of, well, okay, I shouldn't say that, because my frustration is with the literal plot points, which make absolutely no sense. And like something like Us, you can be like, okay, it's kind of an alternate reality, it's kind of a farcical, it's kind of a fairy tale.
I do think Us kind of falls apart on a second viewing. As
no, because you're not supposed to take Us literally in terms of...
But it doesn't really tell you that.
It doesn't really tell you that, but it doesn't necessarily need to.
That would actually be a good one.
That part aside, a lot of this just didn't add up and make sense, despite having some awesome visuals, some clever ideas, and a badass soundtrack. But this vote is purely going to be out of spite and for vengeance of the lizard. It's going to get 5 pieces of paper.
For the lizard.
Matthew's always cared about the animals. Yes. I do too, but he's got extra.
I mean, there's a difference between killing something to eat it and killing something to make your fucking little movie.
Yeah, you call that the wild... Actually, you didn't even give Wild Beast the... You didn't do anything for Wild Beast. I am going to go with what I think you would have done had you not been hypersensitive to the lizard, which I am too. But.
Not hypersensitive to the lizard. They stuck a goddamn pin through the thing, threw it on the floor, and let it writhe around in the ground in pain.
Oh,
and they filmed it.
Wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank God he forgot the 2 dogs biting each other.
Yeah, exactly. The 2 dogs biting each other, like what you said, they probably made them do that. And that bird that gets stabbed, like, I guess it could have been a dead bird, and they kind of pulled its beak back, it pulled its wings, and they kind of let it kind of crease back. But yeah, I don't think that's what happened.
I don't remember the bird close up.
You remember anything, man.
It's sad. It's happening now that this
I am Matteo. Just in case.
So I'm going to go with a 1, 2, right in the middle 3, and I would like to say that, like I said, I was very focused on the innovative camera work, the craftsmanship. I thought the soundtrack was almost its own character. So I'll give it right in the middle for a lot of positives, a little bit of a confusing experience as we talked out, and I think Matthew is correct that Dario being known as an icon and master of horror, I expected maybe a little more blatancy in the horror, like a straight up slasher. But I would not. I'll put it in the middle because I would not like to have anything detract either way. And I think a second viewing might actually bump up the score differently. But yeah, I'll say right in the middle because I recognized the iconicness, the craftsmanship, the originality, but it was a little disjointed experience for me. So try to keep it honest right in the middle.
Yeah, well, when he did this movie, he wasn't yet the master of horror because he was mostly doing.
So you're saying other movies
giallo.
might be more of a example of.
Suspiria is more of a horror.
Suspiria is definitely a horror.
Okay, and more like a psychological freak.
Inferno, yes, another thing. Then he went back with Tenebrae, which is also a thriller, and then he kept on switching.
All right, on to the Italian maestro that introduced us, which I'm sure will be much different.
No, I totally understand the repulsion of the animals. I don't like to make animals suffer for a movie.
Just Us.
Yes, I would go with 2 because it was a breath of weird fresh air in the Italian landscape.
MaJaMa.
I've seen firsthand the phenomenon. I did not see it when it came out because I was 9. I saw it subsequently when they put it back in theaters. But I saw firsthand this amazing phenomenon that happened, and with him just like subverting all the characteristics. A lot of people, pretty much like you, couldn't make head or tail of it in terms of because the audience were still expecting something that had a beginning, a middle, and an end in terms of stories, rather than an experience. You just like when you go to see his movies, they're just like they have this kind of.
No, that's exactly how it feels to me. I completely agree with that.
I get what you're saying. It's not even that I don't think it has the structure where we kind of work and wrap up. It's just that the shit doesn't make sense, and it's just far-fetched for a lot of the
fact that the unfortunate effect for the two of you is that you come from hearing Dario Argento, the master of horror.
Yes, it's up on a pedestal go into it.
When it came out, this movie came out.
The surprise, the sneak attack.
It made that impression. People were just like saying, "Oh my God, this is too terrifying for us to just like being able to rationalize it." It's a movie that is made, of course, granted, with the rhythms of today is different, but at the time it was a movie made to unsettle you. And there are all these little things, even the scene of the lizard stabbed with a needle.
Dario killed the lizard.
Yeah, fuck him for that reason alone. If you're hurting animals or people for your art, fuck you.
Yeah.
Well, people might be all right.
Yeah.
For me, in hell, if I'm Dante Alighieri, in the bottom of the hell, no Luciferus, but the censorship and the chief of the distribution, the major company, cut the picture. This is the deep, red.
MaJaMa.
That's my parents' hometown, Turin.
Really?
Oh. Yeah. The whole movie.
Is that where the shroud is from?
I'm sorry?
Is that where the shroud is from?
Is where the shroud is.
Oh.
You grew up there, or you grew up in general?
I was born and
wait, why do they call it the Shroud of Turin then?
Because that's where it's kept.
Shouldn't you name it after where you found it?
I know, still. I doubted that Jesus from Galilee would make, excuse me, they have to do a pit stop in Turin. Hello, photo with a statue, and then go back.
Just turn.
To everything, Turin.